I honestly think, Jesse, we're not going back to traditionalism anytime soon. There's only 5 ways that we'll get there. And if you'd let me, if you'd like to know, I'll tell you.
Tell me.
Number 1, you'd have to have World War III.
When times get tough, you need to get down. No need to look backward, put your feet on the ground. Stand up, stand up.
Welcome to The Fallen State. I am Jesse Peterson. The Fallen State is on Patreon. So click the Patreon link in the description to support our work. And I absolutely appreciate it. And thank you all who have already and is supporting, those who are about to do it as I'm speaking. Very interesting guest today. I have with me Coach Greg Adams. He is a YouTuber and the author of The Free Agent Lifestyle and De-Evolution. Coach Adams, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, Jesse. Good to see you.
Yeah, happy White History Month. Did you know that July is White History Month?
I've only known that from your show, watching your show and your theme song, and I know that it's White History Month.
And July just feels white, huh?
It is. I start with 4th of July, I would assume. So,
that's right. It's summertime, vacation time, relaxing time.
Yeah. Hot dogs and hamburgers and
4th
potato
of
chips.
July. It doesn't get any whiter than that. So you are a coach, Coach Greg Adams. And on your YouTube channel, what is a coach and how did you become one?
Well, the name Coach Greg Adams came because I was a former college basketball coach.
Oh, okay.
So I coached high school and basketball coach. And that was the name of the channel that had basketball drills and fitness drills. And then I changed the content of the channel and never changed my name. So it just still remained Coach Greg Adams.
Nice. Yeah. And what is free agent lifestyle? What does that mean? And what do you do to make that happen?
Well, free agent lifestyle came from just giving men options to basically navigate the world. Most men are told what to do, and then, of course, they run into some roadblocks or that lifestyle might not fit them. And this gives them some open options to think about applying to their life. And so it is the men's guide to peace, quiet, and freedom, which I think are the essentials that men are chasing: peace, quiet, and freedom.
Right. And what is the reason that most men don't already have peace and freedom? Why don't they already have it?
Yeah, they should already have it. And a lot of times you try to incorporate other people and you're hoping that ensures you some peace and ensures you a little bit of freedom. But of course, we're dealing with, the fallen state. We're dealing with some people who have not been trained to deliver peace to you. And so these people corrupt your life or they distract you from your purpose. And so we try to get men to understand to build that first before you bring other people in. Otherwise, your life could be chaotic quickly.
And how do you work only with men or men and women?
Well, women watch my show, but only a small population of women watch the show. I think the lifestyle or the idea is to basically, I think for men discover that they have these options a little late in life. So I get more men involved in this, but we do have women watch.
And what are the complaints of most men?
Most men don't know a lot about the marital laws. They don't know a lot about the things that happen until it's too late. They don't know about female manipulation. They don't know about the laws that are going to restrict them access to their children. And when they go through those, they have a discomfort about it. They have a reaction about it that they don't know what to do with their lives. And then I take them and I say, well, this is how you repair your life. Open up these options to your life, learn how to travel by yourself, learn how to build yourself. And then you might be able to either go back to that life with a better negotiation point, or you can just leave those lifestyles all to themselves and just be free.
And so what type of things do men ask you about? Do you do one-on-one counseling or just go around speaking?
I do speaking. I did spoke at the 21 convention, spoke at the Conference of Excellence. And then so I do that and I do one-on-one coaching and then I make YouTube videos. So you'd be amazed. I know, Jesse, and I met you in person in Orlando. I know the amount of men that are looking for advice. They're looking for direction. And a lot of times they're misguided and they're promised things and it doesn't deliver. So men are wondering just about mate selection. They're learning about how to get out of a bad situation. They're learning how to get custody of their kids, even though the mother is not allowing them access to the kids. They're learning how to even go to the movies by themselves. They're like, how do I do it? Where do I go? I don't want to embarrass myself. So I bring different variations of life, different variations of life, no matter if the guy's single, divorced, married, or not. Many men don't have multiple options to deal with life, so they're misled.
So some guys are embarrassed to go to the movies by themselves?
They're afraid to do anything by themselves. They're afraid to travel by themselves, buy a ticket. They're afraid to go to the beach by themselves, or they're afraid of the stigma of what that might bring to them, because maybe society might say, well, that guy's a lonely, or, you know, what do they call him, a pervert, or he's a loner, or he's dangerous if he's by himself. So they don't want to appear that way. They want to appear that they have influence over women. And they might say, I'm going to go on vacation and I'm going to bring a female friend with me. Well, that often doesn't help them when they get there. And they often will find a lot more peace and quiet if they took themselves, as opposed to taking other people that they, you know, really don't need to be there.
I never had an issue with going to the movies by myself. If there's a movie I like, I'll go and kick back and have some popcorn and Raisinets and just enjoy myself. I didn't know that men were embarrassed to go to the movies by themselves.
Well, the funny thing is, you go to the movies, I say nobody sees you other than when you're in the line buying popcorn. So you can just simply go in there and you're in the dark. But a lot of people don't know how to really do it. So I suggested them, I say, go to a matinee. Don't go at Friday night at 7:30 p.m. if you're concerned about looking like a loner. So I'd say go at a matinee, go Sunday night matinee where there's very few people there, and then you can enjoy the movie, and then you can have the rest of the day by yourself.
Most men today are slut makers, and most women are sluts. And would you agree to that?
I would agree to that. Yeah,
are you a slut maker?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm a slut maker, but there is a participation in the debauchery, that's for sure.
And so, because I'm black and slow, does that mean you're a slut maker?
What it would mean is I have a group of women that probably do help me succeed and do monkey double backflips all over the coach.
Really?
No, I don't know about that. But what happens eventually, what happens is the culture right now is a little bit open. So we try to get guys to understand the dangers of participating fully in it. And the ultimate goal is not being a slut maker, Jesse. I don't want to be a slut maker. I don't want to be known as that. What I want to be known as a guy that guides guys on the right direction.
Right.
But you can enjoy a little bit something here and there, Coke, right? You got to enjoy a little bit of something.
So are you saying that it's okay to have sex before marriage?
Listen, I don't set the rules, Jesse. I mean, I wish I would be able to set the rules. I mean, if we're guided by, you know, spirituality and religion, it probably would be best if all people do not do that. But that's not what we're doing. We're doing a direct opposite of that.
Right. And are you married?
I'm divorced.
Oh, good. Well, not good, but okay.
Yeah, what happened? Well,
you
it's good now. It's good now.
You have children?
I do have 2 children, yeah.
Amazing. And so are you with them?
Part-time, 50-50.
Oh,
so
nice.
The government gave me 50-50 there. I won, I guess. I don't know.
And do you have to fight the mother on visiting them? And does she try to tell you how to do it, when to do it, and all that kind of stuff?
Nah, I went through the courts and it was a knockdown, drag out. So, but I never negotiated with her. And that's one of the things I tell men, no, never negotiate with a terrorist. So all of my fight was in the court. And once I got what I got from the courts, then I was able to have, you know, free range of how I raise the kids on my time, which it doesn't really work. It's not really healthy for the kids, but it is what it is.
So let me ask, when guys ask you, should they have sex before marriage, what do you tell them?
I don't discourage that, no.
You don't tell them not to do it?
I don't tell them not to do it.
And why not?
Because then that would probably limit their options severely if that's what they wanted to do. I mean, if they're looking for a woman that would have the same qualities, then they're going to miss out. They'll miss out on the boat.
Meaning that if they were looking for a woman who were willing to have sex out of wedlock?
No, meaning if they were, say, I told them to not have sex told them to abstain.
Right.
Right. And they wanted to meet a woman who was doing the same thing. I would say you're probably not, you're gonna miss the boat. All right. So if you're looking for a virgin, you're looking for somebody who hasn't had sex out of wedlock, you're gonna miss the boat and you'll be waiting until forever.
Which is best, or right is to wait until marriage or before marriage?
If you're looking for a partner to have the same thing, it would be best. It would
Really?
be best. I mean, I think I look at it like this. I mean, if you look at some of the teachings of spirituality, they tell you the negative effects of having that in your long-term partnership. So if your long-term partner has been what we call a 304, if she's been a 304 and she's been ran through more times in the Holland Tunnel, I can guarantee you that it's going to be probably not beneficial to your marriage, and she's going to want to return back to the streets. And if you came in and you haven't had the sexual experience, more than likely she's going to run back to the streets and be a 304 once again. So you're gonna lose if that's the way you do it only for yourself and you don't seek that out in your partner.
When you say partner, you mean like another man or another woman?
Oh, absolutely not, Jesse. No.
Well,
We're only talking about, so yeah.
Don't say partner, you're making me nervous.
Oh, no. Partner's going to be
that's
male,
what the
female.
homosexuals say, partner. We
Yeah,
say
that's true.
girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend.
Okay, yeah. Girlfriend, boyfriend. I don't deal with I don't advise that type of partnerships because I only know.
Right.
I can only teach what I know.
That's right. And so, just to be clear, is there anything wrong with having sex before marriage?
I don't, in this day and time, no.
And what do you mean by this day and time?
I think the way things exist today are not how they existed yesterday and even 10, 15, 20 years, maybe 50 years ago. So I think that in terms of a morality issue, I can't say that there's anything wrong with that. No.
And so when you say in this day and time, do you mean the same values that applied years ago doesn't apply now? Don't apply now?
Not now. No, I think we're too far off the rails for this at this point.
But
I mean, we're headed to a total collapse at this point of the marketplace. So it's going to be difficult to get it back on.
But isn't that reason we are headed down here because the people have turned away from the values?
True. It's absolutely true. Yes.
And so do you try to encourage them to go back to the values?
That would be nice if we could. That would be nice if we could. But then you're going to have a lot of frustrated men if you have just the men go back to values and the women don't follow. But you can't get women to follow these days.
But women
men
will
have lost their way.
Women will follow alpha male, but not a beta male.
Yeah, and there's too many beta males out here. So if you're, and what we know is this, what we know, Jesse, is that the alpha males are getting sex no matter what. Not a lot of alpha males are abstaining. If the alpha males abstain, then they will follow. But the alpha males are, make up 20% of men, and 20% of men are having open sex with 80% of women. So
that's horrible.
Well, you fix it. It's a tough fix for them because then you telling 80% of men to abstain, and that's just going to create frustration.
Should a man look for a woman?
Should he look for a woman? I don't think so. I mean, I've been taught that we should look and chase and approach and all of those things, but I think most of the time, the man that you create yourself to be, the byproduct of that is good woman.
And when you say you don't think he should look, how would he get a woman if he doesn't look for one?
Well, the thing I was saying that, the lifestyle that you create, the life that you make, your accomplishments, your confidence, all of that stuff creates an aura about you that women are going to be attracted to. So then by that particular point, you'll be able to select, or the people that you will be looking for will want to qualify for you, and it'll be a little bit easier. But then you get a chance to select from a group of people who are presenting themselves to you. But I think if you go look for it, most of the time, you're not going to find what you're looking for if you don't complete the person that you need to be.
And what does the average man tell you that he's looking for in a woman?
Well, man, that could range. It could range because I think guys are pretty inconsistent on what they want from a woman. I think, we talk about how women do double talk. Men do the same thing. Men would love a woman who has a nice body, a nice shape, big ample chesticles. They would love all of that. But what ends up happening is they like that for the moment. And then when they go out to the world, they don't want her to show that to the rest of the world. So now you got a problem because you want a freak in the streets or a freak in the sheets and then a nice lady in the streets, and it doesn't work that way. And I think men are ultimately confused at what they actually want from women. They really don't know.
So when they tell you what they're looking for, what do they say they're looking for?
Most of them are going to say low body count, All right. A woman that has not been ran through more times than the Holland Tunnel, a woman that has submissive qualities, a woman that listens, a woman that's cooperative, a woman that will allow him to lead.
Should a man date a woman or marry a woman who already have a child or children?
No. Well, I don't know. Well, date would be a waste of time. He could probably mate with her or practice mating, but marry, absolutely not.
And why not?
I don't think any man especially a man without children under the age of 40 should never even consider dating or marrying a woman with children, because he's going to waste all of his energy and his resources, which we call meat over here, his money, energy, attention, and time. He's going to waste it on someone in someone else's DNA that he gets no benefit from ultimately, when he can create the life that he needs from himself, learn, and then have a woman that doesn't have children. But if you're from the Black community, the odds of you finding a woman without children is slim to none, and slim just died. So if you're a Black male and you strictly are dating Black women, your odds are limited.
Amazing. And so should a man move in with a woman without being married to her?
No, I don't think so.
And why not?
I think there's no benefit from it. I think ultimately, I think the longer you go along with that, he's not going to want to marry her. I mean, what's going to be revealed to him, he'll probably least likely want to marry her, and he'll end up stringing her along, and it's going to be frustrated. But I don't think it's going to be any benefit. Actually, Jesse, one of my principles are no cohabitation with women. All right. So, one of the tenets that I teach is just avoid cohabitating with them, because ultimately, she's going to distract you from becoming the man that you need to be.
Should a man date an older woman?
I don't see what benefit there would be to date an older woman. If you're a younger man, no, I don't see now, obviously what older women are going to do, Jesse, they're basically going to lead with sex. They're going to flood him with sex, and it's going to be easier for him to get sex from an older woman than a younger woman. So he's obviously going to go over there and set a precedent. He's going to say, I prefer older women. But if he does go with her, he's setting her up because she knows how to ultimately manipulate him, and that's through his lower head. And eventually it's going to be a mismatch. It's a mismatch for younger men to really consider dating older women.
Should a man date more than one woman at a time?
Sure, yeah.
And why?
I mean, it increases his options in terms of, there's people that have a philosophy says there's competition anxiety. Women will particularly perform better for you over a longer period of time, as long as she knows there's competition. And I think that to be true. You're going to get better cooperation from her if there are other bull in the ring, all right, or if there's other people that she considers to be competition. But the minute you restrict that, the minute you limit that, it's over.
Amazing. And should he be having sex with all these women at the same time? When I say the same time, not the same day, but
why he could at the same day, Jesse. He could at the same day. Why not? But what I mean ultimately is if he's having sex with multiple women at a time, I just think that's how he's biologically created.
But he would be a slut maker, real big slut maker then, right?
Well, he's just qualifying them. I don't think he's making sluts. I mean, he's just qualifying them.
And should all these women know that he's dating other women?
Absolutely. They should know. I mean, it would be in his advantage to, what I tell guys is to be upfront with women. Anytime you're dealing with women and you're upfront, you put the onus back on them to make a decision. I never encourage guys to lie or hide information from women, because ultimately that's how you get your tires flattened. That's how you get bricks thrown through your window. That's how you get your car keyed. You don't want to be in that situation with women, because that doesn't lend to a peace, quiet, and freedom lifestyle. You want to let them know that you're open and available and you're holding auditions for her spot.
What would be the purpose of dating more than one woman at a time?
The purpose would be whatever fulfillment you need. I mean, I think if you limit yourself to the one woman, I think it puts the leverage back on to her. And she can be uncooperative. She can do whatever you need. She can do the things that you're not wanting her to do, and she'll get away with it.
But isn't that a sign of the man being out of control if he dated more than one woman at a time and having sex with all these women, isn't that a sign that he's a weak man?
I don't think so.
And why not?
I don't think that's a weak quality. I think that's because there's been men before that have been very strong personalities that have had multiple women in his life, and they were complicit. They complied, and he was able to actually get what he needs from those multiple women, as opposed to getting very little from one woman.
Wouldn't that become, sex is like a drug, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so men are like drug addicts and women are sex dealers.
That's right.
So if the woman is a sex dealer, she would be controlling the addict. And that's why one would never be enough.
Yeah, but I think one woman is a dangerous drug dealer because then she can restrict access to it or make you perform for it, or she can pinch like a drug dealer would pinch. Basically, once she has you addicted to the drug, then she can give you less of it and you paying the same price or more for less of it. So I think you give women a little bit more of they'll become a dangerous drug dealer because they know you're only getting it from her, and then she can tap out the resource and say, well, if you do a little bit more or give me a little bit more for the same thing I've been giving you, it doesn't put them at an advantage. It puts them at a disadvantage.
What's the purpose of dating, men and women dating?
Wow, shoot. I mean, it's changed over the years. I think at first, because women had a restricted amount of men they can access, the purpose was to find a long-term partner or husband. We're going to say a husband and a wife. That would be the original person, not partners, right? We're going to say husband and wife. But that was the original purpose. Now, I think we've lost the sense of purpose because we have so much choice out there on what to do.
Why don't you teach the men to go back to the original purpose, as that works better?
It does, but I think now once you tell the men to go there, what about the so-called sluts? All right, what about the women that they're eventually going to want? He's just going to watch her ride the cock carousel, and you're going to be sitting out on the side. And then you're accepting leftovers. I don't think I'm going to put men in that position because ultimately they're going to be frustrated.
Really?
I don't want frustrated men out here.
Amazing. Amazing. Should a man seek pleasure?
Yes. I mean, it shouldn't be his main purpose, but yes.
And why should he seek pleasure, period?
Well, it depends on what the pleasure is, but I think men have the onus of being providers and builders and leaders, that he somehow has to have an outlet or a reward, as opposed to always trying to build and provide and lead. So yeah, the pleasure could be anything. It could be through sex, but I think, like you said, it could be addictive. But men could use hobbies to get pleasure. They could use the pursuit of money, whatever it is.
Isn't it true that every time man has sex, he's dying?
I've heard that. Yes, I've heard that. I'm not sure if it's true, but I've heard some people talk about that. Like you're losing your energy.
You give your life away, you die.
Right. I mean, I can see that. I don't know if I believe it 100%, but I'm open to listen to more of it. Yeah.
Are you a pleasure seeker through sex?
Yeah, I would say most of my sex is for sport.
It's for pleasure?
For sport and pleasure, yes.
And what do you mean by sports?
Sport would be I'm doing it just to achieve something or fun or an outlet or a exercise or activity. It's not to connect to a person. It is not to vet her out or anything. It's just for sport.
What the?
Sex for sport. That's where we are right now.
And why are you seeking pleasure? What do you mean when you're seeking pleasure through sex? What does that mean?
I'm looking just to have fun through the situation. There's nothing more. I'm not trying to marry the woman. I'm not trying to see how good she is at it. I'm just trying to get an outlet.
And what is wrong with you that you need pleasure?
I don't think anything's wrong with you. I mean, we can't be robots out here. We can't be. I mean, you can if you'd like to. There's men that actually figured out to be monks and not achieve pleasure and just separate themselves from women, and they've been very successful at it. So it is a lifestyle, but I don't think I'm at that point in my life. So yeah, I'm going to need an outlet.
And why do you need pleasure?
Why do I need pleasure?
Yeah,
because I'm a hard worker, Jesse. Man, I've written books. I'm doing an interview with Jesse Lee Peterson out here. And for the most part, I'm working 16 hours a week, 17 hours a week. I don't have a team yet like you. So at some point I'm gonna have to get a team, but I have to do all this stuff by myself. So I have to have an outlet sometime.
And so after this interview, you're going to go and seek some pleasure through sex.
I do have a roster of women who do monkey double backflips on the coach. So at some particular point, it will be somebody who's going to give me access to that peace league or something like that. So
how many women are you having sex with right now?
I'm not having sex with nobody right now. I'm talking to you, but
I'm talking about after, like every day and night.
Every day and night. I mean, it could differ. I mean, listen, in this culture, Jesse, you can have somebody lined up every day. But for me, like there could be a week where I see 5 women. All right. But I might not have sex with all 5 of them.
How many days in a week?
There's 7 days in a week.
Oh, so you rest on the 7, 6,
I rest on whatever day. I try to do middle of the week to give them a rest.
What would happen to you if you did have sex?
Nothing.
How do you know?
Because nothing happens. I mean, like if there's nobody that shows up, I actually just do more work.
Amazing. You wrote, you have a video that I saw a part of last night on testing. I can't say the word SH T.
Yeah.
What is testing?
It's basically a form of manipulation that women use. And when I say manipulation, it's not a malicious manipulation. It is just her testing you out. It's a way for her to test her boundaries with you, how much she can get away or how much you like her. So she's going to take you through a series of events that are basically going to qualify you, or if she has insecurities, is basically going to tell you where she is in a relationship.
Like what can you give? Are you able to think of an example, a couple of examples of what they do, what the women do when they're testing a man?
Yeah, the easiest ones, they'll have they'll have like a silent treatment would be a SHIT test, what you call here, or do I look fat in this dress? I mean, it would be an obvious situation where you win or lose. Ultimately, when she's testing you, you win. You don't win. You basically win by not playing in the testing. But for the most part, she's going to take you through a series of events where you are pigeonholed. Do I look fat in this dress? Is a SHIT test. Well, obviously, if you believe you look fat in this dress, lady, you're fat in the dress. But if I say you're fat in the dress, then I lose out, and then she can do the silent treatment and continue to manipulate me. Well, I'm not talking to you, and how dare you? And see that's a loss. But if I say, no, honey, you look fine in that dress, obviously, then I lied to her and she knows I lied to her. And now she's going to be able to say you're a liar. So it's almost like they paint you into this corner, but it's basically what children with breasts do. They SHIT test you to figure out your spot or to gain an advantage over you.
So with that example, a woman asks you, do I look fat in a dress? Should the man tell the truth or should he lie?
Well, I would say you would tell her the truth. All right, that would be the only way to do it.
Oh, okay.
And then at least then she can't call you a liar. So I think if she's able to prove that you lied to her, then it's going to be hard for her to, like that she says, you tell her I'm going out to dinner with my boys. She's going to say, well, you're a liar. You're going to say, I'm not gonna lie. Well, you lied to her in other situations where you tested her. So you don't want to be a liar at all times.
And do men do the same thing to women? Well, not the exact same thing, but do they do the SHT test to women?
I don't think so. But men do manipulate women. So yes, I don't think they SHIT test them, but they do manipulate them. See, the testing that women do it's a constant. And it's almost to the point of harassment and terrorism. Men don't do it at the great length to call it testing. So I wouldn't qualify it. But men do manipulate women, obviously. And women might disagree with my statement about them not testing them.
And you said that there's something called the nuclear SHT testing. Mm-hmm. What is the nuclear testing? Well,
that's where she's going to really drop the bomb on you, where she might say something like, I'm not happy. And I call it I'm not happy, which basically is going to put you in a situation where you have to figure out how to make her happy or tell her to kick rocks. Now, most guys immediately try to make her happy. All right, what is it, honey? What do I need to do? Where do I need to do for you? And then she'll come up with stuff. Oh, you need to help around the house a little bit more or mow the lawn a little bit more, whatever it's going to do to benefit her. And then it's basically she's giving you the indication that she's going to blow it up. All right. I'm not happy means there's another bull in the ring, or I want to test out my marketplace value, or I want to go to girls' nights out, or I want to do something like that. So when you get to the nuclear level, your relationship's over. And when you hear, I'm not happy, you basically tell her to kick rocks.
Amazing. What the? So what do you think about, so let me just ask about this free agent lifestyle.
Yep.
Men's guide to peace, quiet, and freedom. Tell me once again, what is that exactly?
Yeah, the free agent lifestyle is an opportunity for men to pursue their happiness, pursue their pleasures over women. And it's basically another strategy to raise your marketplace value out here, or at least live the life for yourself. Men are trained to do life and give to others, and we should be happy just giving up a lot of the things that we produce in this world. And that's how we've been brought up. We're told that there's a reward in that. Well, that's changed because because traditionalism has changed and women have changed. They become more progressive. And so if a guy leads that way, he's going to take a big loss. And we're learning that in the family court. Ultimately, you got to pay for the woman. So we're teaching guys, look, I know what men want. They want peace, quiet, and freedom. But a lot of times they also want women. But if they don't have a good negotiation point, meaning they haven't built up their lives, they're going to get low quality women. And low quality women are going to lead to a very miserable lifestyle for men.
So does peace come from within, or does it come from external conditions?
Yeah, I think it comes a little bit of both. So the free agent lifestyle is going to teach you to pursue peace from within, and then it's going to be able to help you select partners that are going to bring more peace to you, as opposed to a bitter, vindictive woman who doesn't know or hasn't been trained to bring peace to men.
Amazing. Have you heard of MGTOW?
Yes, I heard of MGTOW. Yep.
And it mean that men going their own way, they're like done with women, I believe. Am I right about that? They're done with women?
They're done to an extent. They're done with traditional relationships.
Meaning that they're just out there being slut makers?
They could be slut makers, or they could be a monk. They could completely go their own way. That's the beautiful thing about MGTOW, is there's no defining rule that they live by. Every person is going to be different.
Have you ever coached with men who are in that movement?
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
And what caused them to become a MGTOW?
Oh man, it could be a variety of things. It could be that they're ugly, or it could be that they got divorced, or it could be that a girlfriend broke their heart or broke up with them or cheated on them, or it could be that they haven't been successful in relationships. There's a variety of reasons of why a guy would choose that. But the point of it is it gives them an option, as opposed to saying, okay, I have less than, or I'm less than, or I got divorced, or I'm homeless. What do I do then? And they get an answer in MGTOW. They get an answer. They get a direction. Well, live life for yourself. Okay. That works out.
Would you recommend that? Living life for yourself?
I would recommend it for a lot of men. Yeah. A lot of men are not ready to deal with traditional relationships today. I would tell them, don't even try. You're going to frustrate the hell out of yourself if you try this.
When you say traditional relationship today, were there a time where relationship was better than they are today?
Well, we assumed that they were better, but we could be wrong. I mean, I didn't grow up. I mean, I was born in the 70s, so we didn't see the single mother rate as it was today. We're close to 50% single mothers nationwide. We're close to 80% in the Black community. And I know it wasn't that high when I grew up. So if that's better, that's better. But I also saw a lot of domestic violence. I saw a lot of abuse in marriages and relationships, even in those so-called better days. And, we just assume that they're better because we have revisionist history. We can go back and say, oh, in the 50s or the 40s or the 20s or the 1880s. Look, man, I mean, we just don't know. But I think today we have seen a progressive deterioration of traditional relationships.
But shouldn't we be pointing men back to the original way, the best way?
Yeah.
But when you're telling them to have sex out of wedlock and just do what they want, that's not pointing them back to the original way.
Well, the original way would require the other side to simply basically say, yeah, we're going to do it too. But I don't think we're going to have that. I honestly think, Jesse, we're not going back to traditionalism anytime soon. There's only 5 ways that we'll get there. And if you'd let me, if you'd like to know, I'll tell you.
Tell me.
Number 1, you'd have to have World War III. All right, you would have to have complete breakdown where multiple countries are fighting themselves. Number 2, you'd have to have a financial collapse of epic proportions. All right, we got very close to that. We're basically living close to that right now, where we printed 23% of our money that in the history of this country. We're close to an economic collapse of epic proportion. Number 3, we'd have a religious awakening where we would see the Son of God himself parting the clouds, and you would have no choice but to return to traditionalism. Number 4, you would have massive immigration or terrorism. They would have to have people come in and overtake the people who had so-called leadership or authority. You would have to have that condition. And number 5, you would have to have you probably have to have a plague or some sort of sexual transmitted disease that takes over. And that would force people to be traditional. Like if you had a massive STD or a plague, which we kind of have now, most people would have to retreat back to the house. And then you would have traditionalism reborn. Other than that, Jesse, which we're getting close, I don't see traditionalism coming back. Really?
Amazing. So let me just ask about politics. And are you a conservative or liberal?
I'm way massively conservative, right?
In what way are you conservative?
I have conservative tendencies in terms of quality of life. I'm a traditionalist. So although I teach men, hey, try to find a different way of life, I would think the best quality of life is traditional. If you're raising children, the best quality of life for them would be a 2-parent household. So I believe in that. There's other things I'm very conservative about. Freedom of speech, Amendment number 1 and Amendment number 2. I think we need to preserve those things. And I'm not greatly supportive of people who take handouts or vote based on handouts. I'm not a big proponent of that, because I think eventually they don't know that there's collateral damage from just one person receiving handouts. They actually ruin multiple homes by one person taking handouts. So when I look at that, I say I'm more conservative than liberal.
And did you vote for the Great White Hope?
Yeah, I did vote for the Great White Hope. Yeah.
Right on. For those who don't know Donald Trump.
Yeah. I mean, it was a no-brainer, Jesse. I mean, you had Hillary Clinton on the other side of the ticket. I was definitely not going to vote for a feminist. It was too easy.
Do you believe that racism exists?
Not as we're told, but yes, there's racism, but not as we're told it to be. No.
And what does racism look like?
Racism could look like ignorance. It could be ignorance. I think a lot of times we waste too much attention on low-class racism or racism that doesn't affect all Black people. It might affect the lower end economic or class of Black people, but not the upper class. And there's racism that might affect the upper class, not the lower class. So you really got to decipher what it really is or any of that. But I think it's far blown out of proportion. Although it exists, but it's blown out of proportion.
And where is the proof that racism exists?
Well, you couldn't have any proof unless the racists announced themselves, right? So racism would be, what do you call it? I guess you could, to me, I think people blame a lot of things, their failures, their lack of pursuit of things, their lack of vision. They'll blame that on racism, which I don't agree. But there could be some people who harbor racist feelings, but you can't prove it.
And so where's the proof then that racism exists if you can't prove it?
You only can prove it if the racists announce themselves, right? So if I do something to you intentionally, and then I say it's because of your race, there's examples of that. There's small examples of that, but
that never happens. You don't hear anyone say, well, now you're hearing it from the Blacks to the whites, but you don't hear anyone saying, I'm mean to you because you're racist. I mean, your race.
Well, so you're saying racism doesn't exist, but then you gave the examples of Blacks being racist to whites. So then it does exist.
Well, the reason that racism doesn't exist, what is happening now is hatred exists.
Right.
And so the blacks hate the whites because they're jealous of them. The whites are smarter. You know, they founded and created the greatest country, and the blacks are incapable of doing that. And so rather than learning from the whites, they are calling them names and lowering the standard of life so that they can feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I mean, if I see racism from blacks to whites, I call it out. If I see it from whites to blacks, I definitely call it out. I think there needs to be a repair of how black people approach life here in America, or they need to choose another place to be. I just think there needs to be a class distinction between blacks and other blacks. I think a lot of times we take the lowest common denominator and then we paint all black people as that, or all black people should be sympathetic because the lowest common denominator failed. I don't see other races of people doing that, and I'm trying to get other blacks to recognize that too. Well, I think you hinder yourself when you do that.
I've noticed that no such thing as racism at all. It has never existed. But I've noticed that there's a warfare between good and evil, right versus wrong.
Sure.
And I noticed that the blacks, because they don't believe in God and they don't have families anymore, they're very angry and hateful. And so it's just their hatred toward the whites, but it's not racist.
Yeah, there is a lot of hatred. I think the lack of family in black community is devastating. It is the number one reason why the community is the communita at this particular point. And it's never going to get better until blacks, lower economic blacks, figure that out. They have to come to some sort of way to not live with 80% single mother raised son husbands, as I call them, eventually, because there's no repairing that. You can't have what you perceive to be what white people have if you have that, and white people don't have that. It's just a simple solution.
Have you noticed that even the so-called upper class black people are evil as well? Black people don't have love. They're all, not all, but most are pure evil now. They are very destructive. They don't build, they destroy, they blame, they whine. And even the men are like the women. There is no sense of ability to do for themselves.
You said the upper class blacks might have this too?
Yeah, they all have, because they are encouraging the blacks with no money, the so-called lower class blacks. It's the upper class blacks who are encouraging them to blame someone else.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like the celebrities and the rappers and all that type. Oh, I count it. Oh, well, I don't count them as upper class.
And Obama.
I don't count them as upper class. I count them, those are actors. I think they're actors. Those aren't upper class blacks. Those are people who've been paid operatives, MK, Ultra, Mind Control. These people are paid by certain people to make these statements to be divisive.
And what would you consider upper class black?
Upper class black is somebody who is an entrepreneur, somebody who's built himself, somebody who's worked 40 years and now has worked to keep his family preserved. Those are upper class blacks. Celebrities aren't upper class to me. I think because most of the time a celebrity basically came from the dirt, or they came from bad surroundings and built themselves up with the help of liberal minded people. Those aren't upper class blacks to me. I don't consider celebrities or athletes upper class at all.
Amazing. What do you think about this so-called critical race theory?
It's more retaliation. It's more of the ability of these unions, these teacher unions, to get more power in order to manipulate, to bring in new thoughts. I don't think it's something that we should now be focusing on teaching, because they're just going to create division. Have you
always been a more conservative, or were you liberal at one time?
When I was in high school, because I was raised by a single mother. So when I was in high school, I was taught that the Democrats were our saviors, and whites and conservatives were the evil and they wanted to take. And to a certain extent, conservatives, they have a different approach significantly, because they don't want to bring in socialism or communism or handouts. They are trying to force people to say, hey, you get what you can when you can, if you put in the effort. And but we're going to get most of it. It's a weird dynamic. I was taught, Bill Clinton was my first presidential election. I was real excited, when that happened.
You voted for him?
Well, I actually didn't vote, but that was my first legal election where I could have voted. So that was where I paid attention.
Right.
And it was George Bush, Bill Clinton. And back then, raised as a black liberal and a liberal mindset, it seemed like a great choice. But then when you go back and look and you reflect on what happened during those years, it did more black detriments by having these administrations in. But you really can't tell people that because they don't want to see.
When I was growing up, there was no such thing as racism. And I grew up in Alabama on a plantation. And
Right.
at the time, they had the Jim Crow law. But the blacks at that time knew that the Jim Crow law were about blacks not being a part of the Democratic Party. And so blacks in those days were Republican. I knew no black Democrat. They were all Republicans. So it was never about race or racism. The blacks and the whites knew it was a spiritual battle, a warfare between good and evil, because there are people who will return to the Father, they are good, and there are those who Satan is their daddy, and they are evil. And so they knew it was a spiritual battle. So where was your father? You were not raised by him.
We were in the same city for a long time until I was 10. Then I moved out to the West Coast, but I know my father. It's not like I don't know him. He started another family. He got married, and then he has another family. They, thrived and had 5 children after me. I was the oldest, and that's what it was. So I know my father. I have a great relationship with him.
You do
and,
now?
He just wasn't around.
You have a great relationship now, or you always had one?
I've always had a great relationship with him. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I've never considered him like he failed or he left me or none of that.
Are you a Christian?
I grew up in the Christian church, but I wouldn't say that I'm a Christian. No, because I'm too lukewarm to be a Christian, and I don't believe in lukewarm Christians. So
you're not a Christian?
No, I wouldn't say that today. I wouldn't identify it. No. If I'm filling out a paperwork, I wouldn't check the box.
Do you believe there is a God?
There is a spirituality about me. Yes. I don't know if there is a one God, but I can't prove it.
So do you believe there is a God?
Could be a God.
But you don't believe there is?
I believe there could be a God.
But do you believe there is a God?
I believe that there could be, yes.
How about there is? Do you believe there is one?
No, I can't be certain. No. It's kind of like racism. You can't prove it.
So you can't prove there is a God?
I cannot prove it, no.
And can you prove there isn't a God?
I cannot prove it, no.
Were you raised a Christian?
I was raised a Christian, yes.
What made you decide not to be one after a while?
Well, some of these black churches are most of the toxic places that you can ever grow up and put a kid in, that environment. And so when you put kids in these environments and you see the debauchery, you see the hypocrisy, you see the gossiping, you grow up as a man in these churches, which are very much matriarchal, and you get put down and displaced and put in your place. You see all the monkey simps that are black men in churches. I knew it wasn't a place for me because I was too much of a man to be in those conditions.
And so that's what made you decide not to be a Christian?
No, not a Christian, but it definitely drove me away from the black church. Yeah.
What made you decide not to be a Christian?
The Christians have become weak, man. The Christians have become weak. I think, like I call them on my channel, lukewarm Christians. And they're lukewarm. They're cherry picking Christians.
And so that's what made you decide not to be a Christian?
Yeah. There's too much weakness. Look at where we got now. But listen, I was raised in a church in the 80s. I'm looking at the lukewarm Christians and the cherry picking Christians now. They're basically spineless, weak, immoral, bowing down to the woman, pedestalizing the woman. They're in the Jezebel spirit. They walk in the spirit of the Lilith demons. They're over there. They're more Samson than they are any level of strength. The Christians need to be ashamed of themselves. They're following down and they're bowing down and become the weakest people in this country.
So you saw the weak Christians and you decided not to be one.
I'm not going to be one of them. No, I don't want to identify with weakness. No.
And so why didn't you show the example of what a Christian was rather than stop being a Christian? Let's say you saw the weak ones and you didn't like the weakness. Why didn't you show the example of a Christian rather than deciding not to be? It sounds like you judged their weakness and you decide, I'm not going to be a Christian, instead of being a Christian and showing them what a Christian is like.
Well, I probably thought that because I was a young person when I discovered all this, growing up after 10, 12 years looking at this on a daily basis, I probably decided that I didn't want to be that until they fixed their issues. Obviously, it's gotten worse. So at this point, I figure maybe I start my own church and call it whatever it needs to be as opposed to joining them.
So as a result of turning away from Christianity, are you a better person? Are you a better person now?
I think so. I'm more complete. Yeah.
Really? How can you be complete if you don't believe in a God?
Well, I mean, that's all perspective. I didn't say I didn't believe in him. I just said I can't prove that the God exists. But
And so how can you be a better person not knowing that God exists?
well, if there's a spirituality about the thing, I'm sure that it is God that is leading me.
And so, but you're not sure there is a God, right?
No, I'm not sure. No,
So
I
how
can't
can
prove it.
you
I
be
can't prove it.
sure that God is leading you?
Well, if there is a God and they put me in charge, he put me in charge, he selected me or he elected me, there's no way he's going to lead me astray. He's going to lead me right back to him, right, Jesse?
So you believe that there is a possibility of a God, and you believe that this possible God is leading you.
Could be, absolutely. I
And
mean,
do you
using me
say
as a
that-
beacon of hope and light to educate the people, at least call out the lukewarm Christians and get them set back on the right path.
Do you think that God will use you to encourage men to be slut makers, to have sex with different women, and to have sex before marriage and all that?
Could be. I'm not sure, because maybe there's a polygamous. Who knows? We don't know where we're going, Jesse. So I got to at least prepare my men to at least test out the marketplace.
Amazing. Are women evil?
Are women evil? They are tempted by evil. Yes. They're easily manipulated by evil. Yes.
And so are they evil?
They're weak to evilness. Yes. They're weak to evil. Absolutely.
And so they are evil?
By virtue of that, yes.
Do women have love?
No.
And why do you say no?
They're selfish.
In what way?
They're selfish in the mindset of everything that they say that they're doing for you, they're really doing for themselves. And men have to figure that out. I mean, they're selfish. I mean, they're saying that they are what the picture that women paint in our society is that they're the moral high ground of relationships and love. And many times what you're seeing is once you awaken, everything that they are encouraging to you only benefits them.
So your father and mother, they were Christian while you were growing up?
Yes.
Were they good example or bad example of Christians?
I would say mostly good, mostly good.
And so if they were good examples of Christians, why do you just follow them and stay with Christianity rather than turning away from it because you saw other people being weak?
Well, I would say as a young man, you're searching for something to give you a little bit better indication of what is right and wrong.
And you couldn't get that from your parents?
Your parents do a good job of influencing you up until your teenage years. But I think they call teenagers young adults for a reason. It's because once they're teenagers, they're young adults and they can form their own opinions, and your parents have less influence on you than they did when you were children.
But if they were that good influence, how was it that another influence can take that away from you if they were good influence of Christianity?
Yeah, man, I don't know, man. I think, we turn our children to the world. We turn our children over to the world, and that's where the influence tends to be.
So you're not sure there's a God, so I would assume that, and I hate to assume, that you don't believe in the order of God, right?
I don't know what the order of God is. I don't know.
The order of God is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over children. You don't believe in that order.
That sounds like a traditional order to me. So I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with that. Yeah.
You do agree with it?
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So if you agree with that, when you said that men should be having sex with all these different women, otherwise they won't follow them. But if the men were to return to the Father and become right, the women will have no other choice but to follow the man, right?
Follow the strong men, yes.
And so if they're having sex with these women and seeking pleasure, then they're not strong. And if you're encouraging them to seek pleasure, you're encouraging them to be weak rather than strong.
Well, I mean, I didn't say seeking pleasure was weakness.
But
so I didn't say it was weakness. I said it was essential.
Which do you prefer, perfect peace or pleasure?
That's a good question right there. What would I prefer, perfect peace or pleasure? Man, that's a tough one right there. But I'm going to go with perfect peace.
And so why would you never find that in pleasure? Why not seek peace rather than pleasure?
Well, peace is important. Peace is important. But, you also need a peace, if you know what I mean.
What? Nah.
You're also going to need a peace and some pleasure.
So what I've been telling men for the last 30 years or so, 31 years now, is they must be born again of the Father, of God, right?
Yeah.
And so they need to overcome their mothers, because all who are born of the mother are born in sin,
Right.
meaning that they've been turned away from God by their mothers.
Yep.
And so they need to forgive their mothers and forgive their fathers for not protecting them from their mothers,
True.
and return to their natural state of being, which is of God. And then they will have perfect peace within, and then they wouldn't seek pleasure at all, and they can lead women in the right way to go. And then that order will restore itself that we had prior to men falling away from God.
I can agree with all of that. Yes, I think we've been definitely misled on who's the leader and influence. Yeah,
So
I can
why
agree with all
not
that.
teach that rather than weakness?
Well, I didn't say something is weak in particular. As a matter of fact,
But
you
having
know,
sex out of wedlock and having sex with number women and all that stuff is a weakness. It's not strength.
depends on your take on it. I don't see it as weakness per se. It can be weakness, yes, if it's mismanaged. Yes. Yep.
Do you have anger?
Not as much. No, not as much these days. No.
So do you have it?
What's that?
Do you have it?
Do I have anger?
Yes.
No, not these days. No. I mean, anybody's capable of anything, but most of my life is not filled with anger. No.
But do you have it?
I mean, everybody has it. Yeah.
How about you?
I love Jesse. I love Jesse. 100 ways to ask the same thing, and so there's anger in me. Yes, but
so you do have anger.
Of course.
I'm sorry.
Of course. Yes.
And did you know that any male that has anger is a female?
You're great at were you a lawyer before this? You're great at the questions, man. I tell you.
I never was a lawyer, but I did. I went to college for 1 year looking for a white woman, and I took a law class, and it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, well, you're great at you'd be great at cross-examination. I'm going to tell you that, and lead me right. You lead people right to where you want them to go. So you're great at that, and I know that's because I've been watching you, and I knew what to expect. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
so did you know that any male that has anger is a woman?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
And why is he a woman?
Well, women lead by emotions. They make decisions on emotions, and if they allow their emotions to be priority number one, you're a woman. And a lot of men who've been raised by single mothers, they're son husbands, meaning they have more woman in them than they do man.
And those who've been raised by a married couple too, a mother and father together.
Yes.
And if the father wasn't the head of his wife, the mother would turn the boys into a woman. And so
Absolutely.
why don't you overcome being a woman?
Well, I do overcome being a woman every day. Absolutely.
But the only way you're going to overcome is that you must go and forgive your mother for turning you away from your father.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh,
Why
yeah,
haven't you
absolutely.
done that? You've heard me say that,
I've done
right?
that. I've done it, Jesse. I swear to you. I've had this conversation with her.
And what did she
asked-
say?
She was offended, more or less, but I think it didn't surprise her because she knows about my content.
Right.
So she knows what it is. And she's, many times women will project or they want to admit that there was failings in raising their children. And she would have to admit she was offended. Let's just say that was the first reaction, but she wasn't surprised based on what she's heard from me.
What did you say to her?
Well, I said what you said, what you suggested is that, I asked you for forgiveness in the way I was raised.
Well,
and
not
then
ask for
separating-
forgiveness, but forgive her, and God will forgive you.
Exactly.
Human beings don't forgive.
This
We
is
just
true.
apologize for being wrong, for having that anger,
That's
and
true.
God will forgive because it's a spirit.
That's true. This is true.
Yeah. I gotta put you on the. What's a man?
A man is going to be a heterosexual being that was born superior biologically. That's supposed to lead. It's going to be a man.
And do you have love?
Do I have love? There's love, yes.
And what is love?
Boy, what's the definition of love? I would say love is the ability to show other people that they're a priority in your life.
Is it possible at all, one iota at all, to become a man without returning to the Father?
It's possible, yes.
How is that possible?
Well, in my world, it's possible.
How?
Well, first, men need to learn what it is to be a man. I think men don't know what it is. And I think before you even get to that point of returning to the Father, you have to know what a man is. So yes.
And in short, because of time here, what is a man?
Oh, I think
I
what did I
mean,
say?
no, yeah, you said men have to learn to be a man. And what is that? What is a man?
Well, you have to have the qualities of leadership, the qualities of being able to deliberate, use logic, be able to solve, be able to build to whatever that extent of building is, not building a house, but be able to build, support your family, and all those things. Yeah.
Do you believe of ourselves we can do nothing?
Without what?
Do you believe of ourselves we can do nothing?
Of ourselves, we can do nothing.
Right.
Well, I'm not sure I understand really.
We can't fix ourselves. There's nothing we
I
can do
see.
at all.
Oh, no, I don't believe that. No, we can. Yeah. I mean, it takes other people possibly. Yeah. But we can work on ways to fix ourselves.
And so how can you fix yourself? You have anger. How can you fix that?
I think when you learn how to understand, that's on the right way. Understand whatever it is that wherever you're broken.
But can you have understanding without God?
There could be, or he could be guiding you there.
But how can you have understanding without God, period?
You can, I think it's possible, Jesse.
How is it possible? Understanding only comes from God. So how is it possible to have it?
That's going to be you. That's where you are. But I think for a lot of men, before they even get there, they can arrive to understanding.
But any
or
person
could be guided there. I can meet you halfway. They could be guided there by the Lord himself, and he may not know it, but that understanding could come as a result.
Do you believe of ourselves we know nothing?
Initially, yeah, correct. We know nothing, no, because we are influenced to believe what we believe.
And do you believe we're influenced either by good or evil?
Yes.
And so I want you to know it's impossible to repair ourselves. We must return to the Father because only God can make a man become a man. He's the one that caused you to become that way when we return to him. And likewise for ladies, the only way they're going to become a woman is that they must return to the Father. And he will cause that to happen because we are a spirit created in the image of God. And our battle is a spiritual battle. And the more we try, the worse we get.
True. I can agree with that.
But so then it's not possible to know nothing or change yourself. Of yourself, you can do nothing.
I'm not sure about that, but I agree with the majority of what you're saying, Jesse. I'm buying what you're selling, Jesse. I'm buying what you're selling.
I got to heat this interview up, and I got to put you in the hot seat.
Let's do it.
So I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
All right.
The hot seat.
Will you celebrate White History Month with me?
Sure, I'm in.
Is it wrong to be a white nationalist?
No.
Do you believe in white supremacy?
No.
Is sex love?
No.
Who has more privilege, black people or gay people?
Gay people.
Should pornography be illegal?
Yes.
Is it possible to have perfect peace?
No.
You said no?
No.
Amazing. Was it a mistake to educate women?
There's an argument for that. Yes. I would say to give them the right to vote. Yes, that was a colossal catastrophe.
Should women have the right to vote?
No.
If heaven exists, will you go there when you die?
Yes.
Do human beings have a free will?
Yes.
Do you support abortion?
No.
Amazing.
Whoa. Maybe, but no. Yeah.
What the? Did you have fun?
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you bringing me on, brother. I appreciate this, man. It was great.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking on the hot seat there. Tell the folks how to get to your podcast and your books and all the things you're doing.
Absolutely, man. Find me on YouTube at Coach Greg Adams. I got so many channels here. I can't even name them all, but also go on Amazon if you want to get the books, Free Agent Lifestyle and De-Evolution. Go on my website. There's a free book, 52 Things That Men Should Know Before Even Considering Marriage. That's on my website, gregadams1.com. And then find me on the Free Agent Lifestyle podcast, which is all over every podcast, Apple, Google, SoundCloud, all of that stuff, Anchor and Spotify.
Are you able to say why you and your wife divorced?
I would say, yeah, I could say it. Yeah.
Why did she divorce you or you divorced her?
It was mutual, but I was the one that led it, initiated it. And I think it was because like most women, they find most women find a place where they're trying to test their marketplace value at the last point. They're trying to explore who they are. They've committed to a relationship. And then what happens is they want to see if the grass is greener on the other side. And she was in a point where she wanted to see that if that was going to be her life. But I wasn't ready to have that a part of my life. So I decided to kick rocks.
So she cheated on you?
She didn't. Well, I never can prove that she was doing something like that, but she was leading a life that could lead to that.
Do you believe in living with more women than one at a time?
Isaiah 4:1.
You will have more than one woman at a time in the same home?
I wouldn't encourage people to do it, but it's possible, yes.
It's possible that you would do that?
It could, well, not me. I don't think I would do it, but it's possible to be done, yes.
So it's okay to do that?
I think so. I mean, there's been precedent that was more stable for society at some point, but it wouldn't be fair.
You wouldn't recommend that, would you?
I would not recommend it, no.
Would you recommend guys not to do that?
I would tell you not to do that. That would be foolish.
Thank you, Coach Greg Adams, for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Happy White History Month again.
Absolutely. I love it.
Thank you all for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. Don't forget to like, follow, ring the bell, hit the like button. Go to Patreon and click on the link there in the description and support our work. Visit the store. Thank you for your financial support as well. I do appreciate you, folks. Have a good one.
Next time on The Fallen State.
There's an international organized effort to abolish the nation state, England. It's a very small, old place. Until the end of World War II, there wasn't a large amount of non-white immigration into Europe. It's just all of these driftless nomads of globalism. And it's just like, okay, but like, who are they?
What happened to the whites? They're afraid to defend their homeland.
There's a particular culture to the English-speaking world. They thought that everyone would buy into the Protestant work ethic. It is what is called individualistic. And we should be more aggressive by saying, no, we don't have tyrants, you do, you learn how we work. Look at what the Democrats are doing in America right now. Your country is under siege from within.
You love your father?
More than anything. Best man I ever met.
I rest my case. This has been the best conversation I've ever had. Thanks for watching The Fallen State. We need your continued support. Donate to my nonprofit here. Subscribe and like the videos here. And tell everybody and their mama about the show.
On the hot seat.
It was fun.
I didn't even have to leave the show like a lot of people have to leave the show. You know, when they take their microphone off.
Oh, yeah. No, you handled it very well. Thank you for that.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. All right, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
All right, buddy.